Hello everyone, and welcome to week 3 of the course. This week we will look at the work of Professor Neil Mercer. We will look at how we might understand learning as happening through interthinking. We will then move on to look at exploratory talk, which is a type of talk that allows for interthinking to happen. Finally, we will talk about ground rules for a dialogic classroom. Research has shown that ground rules encourage exploratory talk and are very important in generating high-quality educational dialogue.
Thanks, Farah. So to begin with, let's look at interthinking. Neil Mercer coined this term to link the cognitive and social functions of group talk. It's really useful for understanding that the social interaction that happens when we think together generates new thoughts and ideas. Essentially, interthinking means using talk to think collectively, to engage with others' ideas through oral language, and thereby produce understanding and new ideas. If we understand this relationship between talk and thinking, we can see how asking learners to talk in groups is as much about helping them to learn the skills of interthinking as to help them to get a right answer. But how can we as educators improve our practice in this area?
One way to do this is to understand that exploratory talk is very different to instructional talk. It allows learners to collectively problem solve, to make mistakes, share half-formed thoughts and explore the subject that they're trying to learn about together. Although this exploratory talk is the ideal, typically in group work, what we often observe is disputational or cumulative talk. So we either see disagreement or disputation with very little attempt to work out why learners are disagreeing on something. Or we see a cumulative type of talk where learners just agree with each other and repeat what a co-learner has said. This means that they're not really challenging themselves, engaging with anybody else's ideas or with each other to develop their understanding. The reason for this is that trust and cooperation skills are needed for learners to effectively work together. They need to actually know and understand how to work together effectively. Megan will now talk about how ground rules can help us achieve this.
Thanks, Farah. As you'll see below, the weekly activities and readings for this week's session really do focus on ground rules. And this is because ground rules are a really important way of creating that dialogic ethos that we've talked about in your classroom or setting. And ground rules also support learners and educators in taking a dialogic stance. It's really important that you develop your ground rules together with your class. Research has shown that when learners collectively agree on a set of ground rules for talking together, they're not only more likely to actually stick to those rules, but they also develop an understanding of how dialogue is in itself a learning activity, how it enables them to interthink. The Thinking Together website, which we've posted below, has a lot of different resources to help you plan some lessons where you develop ground rules with your learners. So we do recommend that you look through that website and you take advantage of those resources that are available to you. In terms of ground rules that other classes have come up with, here's one example of a set of ground rules that we hope you'll find useful. You can also find this in your core reading for the week, by the way. So ground rules for exploratory talk. We will share what we know with each other. We will ask everyone to say what they think. Everyone should listen to others. We will think about what to do together. We will give reasons for what we say. We will decide what to do only when everyone has said all they want. Now, this very basic example of ground rules is not the only way to construct them. And actually, we find that it's best to allow learners to come up with many different variations themselves, and then you work with them to select maybe 5 to 10 of the most important rules that they all agree on. Once you have done that, you can actually print these out and stick them all around your classroom. And if you want to do it on colored paper or using pictures, whatever way you think is the most engaging and students will actually look at and refer back to. But we do find that that presence of the ground rules really does help to create that dialogic ethos.
Do remember that this is just the first stage in a journey to develop a dialogic classroom. This first stage will not lead to automatic changes. Taking a dialogic stance involves ongoing professional reflection by educators and an ongoing dialogue with your learners about how to enhance the quality of dialogic interactions in your classroom. That's all from us for this week. In the next video, you can listen to Professor Neil Mercer talk about these same ideas. Remember to use your reflective journal to make notes on the videos, on the readings and other research that you might be doing. This will help you write your 300-word reflection for this week. Remember also to post on the discussion forum and to respond to others, which will be, again, really helpful for your learning. So that's all from us for this week. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.